times too.
All right, now, do you ever find it hard to get your kids to tidy the room or persuade your partner to do the dishes without it ending in nagging or arguments?
Lots of nodding at home. Well, those days, they could soon be over if we followed the advice of our next guest, former hostage negotiator turned author of The Leader's Guide to Negotiations, Simon Horton. And he has the most powerful negotiation tactics to get anyone to do what we want, even the kids. And we caught up with Simon a little earlier. Simon, good morning to you. How interesting is this? Tell us, how can the skills for hostage situations help us get our own way in the home or with our families or maybe with our workmates as well?
Well, it's all the same principles in terms of negotiation. If we're trying to influence somebody to do something, to get them to do what we would like to do, it's the same principles if we're talking about a life and death situation like a hostage situation, or if we're talking about a more everyday situation like getting your kid to tidy the room or your husband to take the rubbish out or whatever. Ultimately, it's still about understanding their perspective, putting your message in terms of how they see things, and then it's going to land more successfully.
How important is it to stay calm? Because sometimes it's very difficult to do that.
Are we talking about a hostage situation, or are we talking about getting your kid to tidy the room?
No, we're talking about family because I assume, right, that if you're in a hostage situation that you do need to stay calm.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're totally right. It's exactly the same. Losing your temper in the family situation is never going to get the result you want. It's actually just going to sort of rile them more, so they're less likely to do what you would like them to do.
So effectively it's planting the seed to make the other person think that they've come up with the idea rather than you coercing them. Is that the premise?
See, that's a brilliant way of doing it. That if you try and tell somebody to do something, there's a reasonable chance they'll fight against it. But if you plant the seed so that they think it's their idea, well, then they're going to fight for it because they think it's their idea. So, you know, using words like, oh, like you said earlier on, even though they didn't say earlier on, or building on your idea or whatever, even though they didn't suggest anything earlier. But it'll make them think that it was their idea, and then they're going to fight for it.
How do you practice for something like this? Because it might be a bit tricky for someone who has no experience with any kind of negotiation.
Yeah. Well, my view is that actually we're negotiating all the time, that every day we have micro-negotiations going on. You know, when just in the shops or with our colleagues or in the home, we've got micro-negotiations. So if we can just think about those, and just think about those a little bit more from a kind of a best practice approach, and then give it a go, and then see what worked and what didn't work, and then practice and just keep getting better, but do it in that conscious kind of way.
OK, so making my kids think that they came up with a brilliant idea of cleaning up the mess in their room is one thing. I'll work on that one. But how about in the workplace? If you've perhaps thinking that you're due for a pay rise, how do you convince the boss that he thought it was a great idea to give you more pay?
Well, the bosses are easy because they're just so... You just play on their ego. So
you might need to come to Channel 9.
Yeah, exactly.
I work on a commission basis, by the way. So flattery, they did research into does flattery work, and it turns out that it does, that if you flatter somebody, they go away thinking that you're nice, and they go away thinking you're intelligent. They then did further research. Was there any point where it starts to stop, so it loses its effect, where it might become counterproductive? And they couldn't find that point in the data. So you can lay it on as thick as you like, and you know they're thinking, oh no. Yeah. But he's quite intelligent though, isn't he? You know, it lands. It still lands.
OK.
And can it work at all?
But with your boss.
Go ahead.
Sorry, so what I was going to say with your boss, you know, the pay rise, it's quite a nice example, actually, because it illustrates whenever we try to influence, we always do it from our perspective. So we say, boss, I need a pay rise, I deserve a pay rise. And he'll say, why? And you'll say, well, because I did this, I did that, I did this. But the thing is, the boss doesn't care about that. The boss doesn't care about why you deserve it. So if you want to get the pay rise, what you need to do is to step into their shoes and think about what do they care about. And they care about their pay rise and their promotion and their targets and that kind of stuff. So if you say, in one form or another, boss, if I help you get that pay rise or that promotion or look good in front of your boss, will you give me my pay rise? Obviously not in as direct a way as that, but you link their goals with your goals.
What about trying to knock a couple of $100 off something at the shops? You know, maybe a TV, a nice TV or a computer or something like that. How does this work when you go shopping?
Yeah, and it does, surprisingly, more than you would expect. Research has shown that if you do go down the high street and you just go into a normal shop and you just ask for a discount, I can't remember the exact percentage, but it's a surprisingly high percentage of shops will give you a discount if you ask. They are much more likely to give you a discount if you give a reason, some kind of vague... It doesn't even have to be an extremely plausible reason, but some vaguely plausible reason why you might get a discount. It just makes it easier for them to say yes and kind of keep face.
I reckon I'm going to give this a real go when I get home later on today. Maybe even on bin night on Wednesday night with my hubby. I'll see how I go. I'll let you know, Simon.
Yeah, let me know.
Thanks, Simon.
Cheers, all the best.